We're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. The Board of Commissioners regular schedule meeting, February the 16th, 2021. At this time, I have called on Commissioner Larry Smith to lead us in our invocation and Commissioner Bill Harris to lead us in our pledge. All stand.
Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for the opportunity you give us to live in this great community. Lord, I pray tonight now as we look at issues that face our town, that we will have wisdom as we debate them and discuss them, Lord. Father, I pray that everything we do tonight will be pleasing in your sight. Lord, I pray that you'll bless our community, bless the citizens therein. Lord, I pray that you'll give this board wisdom in all that we do. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Let us face the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Virtual meeting protocol. At this time, I'll ask our town manager to review the meeting protocol for public participation as it relates to this virtual meeting. Adam?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, and good evening, board members. All attendees that have joined the meeting tonight have joined muted. There is a public comment period near the beginning of the meeting, and there is also one public hearing scheduled for this evening. The time to address the town board on any matter not the subject of a scheduled public hearing is during the public comment section of the town board meeting agenda. If the public wishes to address the town board during either the public comment period or the scheduled public hearing, they will need to notify the town host that they wish to speak. For the public's benefit that may be joining the meeting via the Zoom app, if you wish to speak, please press the raise hand button in the Zoom application. If you are joining the meeting via telephone, please press *9 to raise your hand. After you have raised your hand, you will enter into a queue. When the time for public comment begins, Mayor Byrne will ask the town host to recognize you to speak by calling out your name or the last 4 digits of your telephone number. You will be unmuted at this time and allowed to address the town board. We ask each person that addresses the town board to begin their comments by stating their name and address for the public record. The public is asked to keep all comments to 3 minutes so that all that wish to speak can be heard in a timely manner. Once an individual has finished addressing the town board, they will be muted for the remainder of the meeting, and this concludes the protocol for tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Adam. Approval of the minutes of the February 1st, 2021 regular scheduled town board meeting and the January 29th, 30th town board planning retreat.
I'm okay to make a motion and lump these together. Does anybody board members have any comments separately on those 2 items for additions to minutes?
No comment.
No comments.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve both groups of minutes as presented, February 1st regular board meeting and town board strategic plan retreat.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. One thing that I would mention, and I didn't mention it at the beginning of the meeting, Commissioner Gardner is not with us tonight. She got called away on a family matter. And Commissioner Wunsch is operating remotely this evening, having to take care of his daughter. Okay, we'll continue to move forward. There are no presentations for this meeting tonight. At this time, the IT director will call on the individuals that have virtually raised their hand by way of the Zoom app or by telephone. Those wishing to address the town board will be unmuted one at a time. As a reminder, public comment is for those wishing to speak on matters that are not subject the subject of a public hearing. Those speaking are asked to begin by stating your name and address for the public record. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes in order that all who wish to speak may be heard in a timely manner. Scott, do you have anybody?
Yes, sir. First person, Dahl Blagrove, please unmute your mic and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Dawn Blagrove. I am the Executive Director of Emancipate NC. Address is P.O. Box 309, Durham, North Carolina, 27702. I'm here as a friend and a supporter of the Ziegler family, as well as a friend and a supporter of the community at large who wants to see police accountability and racial equity addressed in a real and meaningful way. I'm here to implore this board to honor the trauma that was caused to Malcolm Ziegler by the Fuquay-Varina Police Department, when they handcuffed him and put him in the back of the car, humiliated him, and kept him away from his father, when he should have had access to an adult to help him maneuver such a precarious situation. I am here to say that across the state of North Carolina and across this country, we are seeing a reckoning where we need to see racial justice, institutional and systemic racism addressed by our elected officials in a way that is meaningful and not performative. You all have a chief of police who does a wonderful job of speaking all of the right things. But what we saw in this instance, where it was required for her and her entire police department to put their money where their mouth was, we saw a dereliction of duty and a failure to live up to those things that she claims she holds dear. We are here today as a community to ask this Board of Commissioners to hold your police chief accountable to her words of reconciliation and equity. We are asking you to use the powers that you have to ensure that there is a cultural assessment done of your police department. We are asking you to use your power to create a board that, for oversight of law enforcement, that will create equity and restore the trust with the Black and Brown communities in Fuquay-Varina. Lastly, I am asking you, as a representative of people all across the state who are unheard, to hear the Black and Brown folks in your community. I am asking you to use the powers that you have as elected official, the power that the people have given you, to hear all of the people, to respond to all of their trauma, and to create a city for them that is equitable and fair. A place where I don't have to worry as a Black woman about my 14-year-old son being handcuffed and kept from his father and treated like a man. He is not a man, he is a child. We need for the Fuquay-Varina elected officials to recognize that all children deserve to be treated like children, and that these issues are important and matter, and it is your job to bring equity to the city of Fuquay-Varina. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dawn. Scott, do you have anyone else?
Yes, sir. Todd Ziegler, please state your name and address for the record, and please unmute your mic.
Ty Ziegler, 8 Red Oak Tree Drive. Dear Fuquay-Varina, the conversations that we've had to bring ourselves to have with our son are conversations we never thought we would have to have in 2021. We've had to explain to him why a Black teenager and a white teenager can stand in the same yard being detained and hurt, and why the white teenager can be heard by the officer and released, while on the other hand, my son was searched and put in the back of a police car. His words were viewed as him running his mouth. We've had to explain to our son why someone can easily call the police report him as being 18 and 6'4" tall, and the police officers show up on the scene and have 4 police officers show up on the scene. My son asked for his dad, and he was denied. Other things we can't explain, like why the owners of the dirt bike were never told that my son was a victim too. We can't explain why the officer never removed the dirt bike from the property and then returned it to the rightful owners. We can't explain why the officer sat in the car with his view blocked while the rightful owners returned to the property and said to my husband, "If you want something, earn it." Finally, I cannot explain why the officer denied my son the right to get the bill of sale, 2 neighbors the right to get my husband, and Mr. Officer, please tell me why his words were viewed as him running his mouth. All I can say is this department failed our family. Not only did you lose our trust, but you also lost the trust of many others in the community. I don't speak tonight just for my son, but for so many other parents on this call. I speak for the teenage boys that told my son that they would have ran, and we know what the outcome would have been. Fuquay-Varina, what will it take for you to not only hear us, but to take action? What will it take for you to admit that while you may have been within policy, this time you got it wrong? What will it take for people, especially children, to be treated with respect and for everyone to be heard? My son was respectful, he complied, yet you felt the need to have 4 officers at one point outside of our home. This experience has been devastating for our family, and in good conscience, I still could not allow a child's blood to be on my hands out of fear of not speaking up. Now the blood will be on yours if you don't act and do something. Sometimes in life, the greatest leadership is not to justify your actions, but to admit when you are wrong. I ask that the body cam be released without edits. I ask that an independent citizens review board be established to review citizens' concerns and police actions within our town. I also ask that we follow the lead of Apex and show true transparency by having an independent cultural assessment that will help bring awareness to the things that we are getting right and things that need to be improved. The time to act is now. And in closing, it is my prayer that the events will be used for change, growth, and unity in our town. But I will not allow what happened to my son to be used to promote a political agenda. I ask our leaders, what will you do? Will you not hear us, or will you take action? Will votes be more important than humanity? While I've had my own experiences in town with race, little did I know that my 14-year-old son would also have his. My son will forever remember he wasn't heard. He was denied his right for his father at least 3 times while standing in our own yard. And once again, your actions were for 34 minutes, but the impact is for a lifetime.
Thank you very much, Ty. Appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us. Scott, do you have anybody else?
Yes, sir. We have one more hand raised. Karen Pittman. Please state your name and address for the record.
Ms. Kerwin Pittman, my address is 201 Lane Street, Raleigh, North Carolina, 27601. I come to you today to speak to the testament of the treatment of specifically the Ziegler family, but other voices that has been marginalized and stifled within this particular community who we may not have heard the stories and may not have seen what lack of transparency even that much to know the story, what we know now. So today, we need individuals who are in position of power such as yourselves within this county to make a difference in this county. We're in a time of history right now. And so the question I ask each and every one of you is, what side of history do you want to end up on? How do you want your legacy to be remembered? Do you want to be remembered as somebody fair and equitable to the people and hold everybody accountable and to a higher standard? Or do you want to hold one side accountable while letting the other side just barely pass and get by? And for those reasons, myself and a host of other individuals within the community of Fuquay-Varina and outside the community of Fuquay-Varina are asking for a cultural assessment into Fuquay-Varina's police department. We're asking for an independent oversight board to be created for a check and balance to different law enforcement officers within this particular community. This is very important within these times, that your board, your commission shows that you are equitable, you are trustworthy, and you are for the people regardless. Also, we need swift policy change. And this oversight board will be able to look at different policies to hammer in and zero in on different policies that we know are despicable right now. Some as such not being able to hold the law enforcement accountable, who did not even let the young Malcolm Ziegler go get his father or go fetch his father for him, better yet, and he's a minor. This is unacceptable. Imagine if this was your 14-year-old child pleading in the back of a police car, trying to explain what's going on, but yet the officer don't hear his pleas and just say he's mumbling and babbling and running his mouth, and still will not even go get his father. For the police chief to take a position to not hold her officers accountable is unacceptable. And no longer will we continue to sit by and not say nothing. And no longer we ask and we demand that you no longer sit by idly and not say nothing. End up on the right side of history. Do what's right. Please issue a cultural assessment of this police department. Issue and create an independent community oversight board and look into swift policy changes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. Scott, you have anybody else?
No, sir.
Okay. We'll move on to item 6.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like just to make some comments, if you don't mind.
No, don't mind a bit. I mean, you're part of the public here.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Harris is going to make a comment or two.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate in our community what has transpired and the emotions that have arisen from this incident. And my heart goes out to Malcolm and the Ziegler family for the trauma that he experienced on that day, knowing that that's going to be imprinted in his memory for a long time. And I think this situation has caused us to focus on what we need to do here in our community to continue to try to build and partner stronger relationships with the law enforcement community. I mean, certainly in this situation, you know, there are different viewpoints as to what transpired, how it transpired, who was right and who was wrong. One of the things that has polarized this issue is that it has been played out on Facebook and social media, and oftentimes that does not lend itself to sometimes factual information. But we can assure you that a lot of the comments that were made, particularly by African Americans as well as members of the other community, are in fact real, that those of us who are of African descent, we understand the experiences that often happen at the hand of law enforcement. And yet, and still, those of us who are in the public arena, we understand that law enforcement has a very unique task, and sometimes they do make mistakes. In this situation, I believe that just in turn, the officer perhaps could have used greater discretion in what was perceived to be an incident involving, now that we know, a minor. I also feel that at this particular point, based on the incidences and based on the comments that we have heard, that we are called to continue our efforts to do something in regards to the request, the cultural assessment, as well as the police oversight committee. I'd like to bring to the board's attention that we do have a public safety committee whose purpose is to make recommendations and to hear issues as it relates to public safety. And I think regarding some of the concerns that we have, especially based on the responsibility and accountability that the public is asking us to ensure when it comes to police practices, that we can place some responsibility to the Public Safety Committee to form a police citizen engagement advisory board and then report recommendations back to our board as to how we can further improve community and police relations. I think that we already have, through the Public Safety Committee, something in place structurally that will help us to address and to respond to some of the concerns. Some of the concerns, of course, run deeper than that, because I think some of them are just systemic and they reflect what's going on in our culture at this particular point. History has denoted and does denote that in some areas there is a criminalization view of young African American males. In some kind of way, we have got to get this message out that that's not necessarily accurate. And I think with ongoing partnering with the law enforcement, with assuring that we can have an oversight committee, that I think that we can move forward and give the citizens some assurance that this won't happen again, and that we want to be on the side where they feel safe and they feel that they can trust law enforcement. So I want to make a motion that we challenge the Public Safety Committee to develop a police citizen advisory engagement committee, and from that committee, solicit volunteers within the community to sit on that committee, and in turn bring recommendations back to our board as to how we can improve community police relations.
I'm planning on appointing a group of folks that do kind of what you're talking, or getting them to come to the meeting. So I think it could work. I would like to ask our town manager about it.
Let me respond to that, Mr. Mayor. Mm-hmm. That's why we have the Public Safety Committee. And then in the Public Safety Committee, then it reaches to the grassroots citizen representation.
Yes, I'm not disagreeing with you, Commissioner Harris.
That would be my motion, Mr. Mayor, is that we would do that.
Well, I don't know.
If I can get a second for that.
Bill, say again, would the you're the chair of the Law Public Safety Committee, correct?
No, Commissioner Wunsch is the chairperson.
Commissioner Wunsch is the chair of it.
The three members are Commissioner Wunsch, Commissioner Marilyn Gardner, and myself.
Okay.
And I think that out of that committee, that we can start moving forward, and we will be closer to hearing the concerns of the people, and we could be a more working committee, just that three, and then have an opportunity to reach out into the community and to develop and hear from community people who this impacts. And then from there, we can lead toward making recommendations that can come to this board that we can implement into policies or procedures or further refine what we already have.
I think that what you're describing is a committee that's already in place by this board already.
The Public Safety Committee is already there.
It's already in place.
Yes, it is.
Committee, and what this gives is a chance for a committee that's already in place to do something, and what thoughts can come out of that committee. What the types of committees that new committees I think would be a little quick to start creating tonight, a new committee versus a committee that's already in place. I think that you also, when you have separate new committees that are quick to be created and before things have been researched, would be a little knee-jerk response, so to speak, tonight. So I do think that your idea of a existing committee to meet and discuss an issue that's going on makes good sense right there. And so what I would be in favor of is, in summarize, make sure I understood you right, just repeating back, regurgitating your words back before making my second on that, is that an existing committee that's in place would be able to consist of 3 board members would be able to meet and discuss what's going on and make recommendations back to the existing board about any kind of future committees, maybe a grassroots committee that's within the community of other people that are involved with that, but something else in the future. But for now, it would consist of the Public Safety Committee.
That's correct. That's correct, because that committee.
And I can second that bill right there.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And what I can do is just take, those folks and refer them to the committee. Adam, I think that's the thing to do. That.
But they would not be, the motions that I'm seconding to bill is not to appoint new people to a town board committee at this time. It's a existing town board committee that's in place that's going to discuss, that consists of 3 board members, future types of things.
Okay.
That's correct. Thank you.
I'm very good with that, and I think it's you know, we're trying to move the ball in a positive direction. Mr. Town Manager, you have any thoughts?
No, I mean, I think with nothing more than what has just been said, I think that what Commissioner Harris has suggested is true. There is an existing established committee of the town board, and it makes sense that those board members who serve on that committee can engage with the public and can bring forward any recommendations that they believe the town board should consider. I would certainly hope that part of that process would include, and I think that was your intent when I heard you say that, Commissioner Harris, would include input from law enforcement, from our police chief and other law enforcement stakeholders perhaps, because I think that'll be important to a full recommendation or a full focus on issues that may be occurring in our community that may need to be looked at in deeper through a deeper lens. But it sounds to me like what Commissioner Harris has described here would be a good step forward.
And it's just kind of a start, I think, is what Commissioner Harris is trying to do, and you know, that's really the important thing, you know, is to bring our community together and to a starting point.
And I think out of this committee, Commissioner Harris, I could see groups of individuals in the town that have their own groups that want to meet with the police department, a representative or police chief to discuss issues that are going on in their community and how they see that things could be improved. And based on the track record of everything I've seen our police department, police chief do involved in our community, I think they'd be happy to meet with different groups too and discuss things and see how, you know, everybody can work together in that area.
Yeah, and I'm excited about that because we've done something like that here in Fuquay before, where we had different community stakeholders to come together, and it's a powerful process when you get people around the table together, talking about community issues and engaging in conversations. If we're going to move this community forward, if we're going to continue to focus and promote a higher quality of life, if we're going to continue to make sure that every citizen feels safe, no matter what their orientation, race is, that they can be heard, then we have to have a process in place where we can partner with various representatives of the community, have the hardcore conversations about how we can move this community forward. I really believe that it will work, and thank you for your second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Commissioner Wunsch, you're on
Mr.
board
Mayor.
with this?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm definitely on board, and I wanted to thank Commissioner Harris for suggesting this. As the chairman of this committee, I'm very excited about working with our citizens, with Commissioner Harris, with Commissioner Gardner, and our board to accomplish this. And I think everything that has been said is an excellent step forward. So I just wanted to say thank you. And I'm on definitely think this is a wonderful way to help accomplish this.
Commissioner Smith, you have any comments?
I'll just make a brief comment. I like Commissioner Harris's suggestion in that we have a formal committee already in place. And I think when this committee has an opportunity to meet with citizens, it'll give a great deal of credibility for citizens to know that they are speaking directly to elected officials who have the authority and the power to help create policy for our town. So I think it gives it a lot of credibility to have people to be able to meet with the elected officials, give input, and I think doing it through an already structured committee that has oversight on public safety issues would be the way to go. So I think it's a good idea.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And we'll conclude the public hearing at that point. point, I never did kind of close the public hearing, I don't think.
I think you did close the public comment period.
Public comment period, okay. All right. We move to 7, A. Yes. Public hearings are a time for the petitioner to present his or her request and for the public to give input and voice their favor or opposition to the request. If you wish to speak, the IT director will call on the individuals who have virtually raised their hand by way of the Zoom app or by telephone. Those wishing to address the town board will be unmuted one at a time. Those speaking are asked to begin by stating your name and address for the public record. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes in order that all who wish to speak may be heard in a timely manner. Fiscal year budget 2021-2022 budget, pre-budget public input hearing. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Town Manager Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this agenda item is to receive comments from the public regarding matters related to the development of the town's fiscal year 2021-2022 budget. The town of Fuquay-Varina staff is in the beginning stages of developing a draft operating and capital budget for fiscal year 2021-2022. The purpose of the public hearing is to solicit and receive input and feedback from the community regarding priorities and specific programs and initiatives that the public would like for the town board and management to consider during the budget development process. The public is encouraged to offer input regarding projects, priorities, level of service, and fees. The public hearing is a courtesy that the town board extends to the public, however, is not a requirement prescribed by North Carolina general statutes. The intent is for the governing board to consider the information provided and afford the board the opportunity to provide direction to staff as it pertains to the formulation of the annual budget plan. In addition to this public hearing, this year, the town has expanded the opportunity for public input in advance of the annual budget development process by creating an online community survey. I think that was previewed with the town board at our last meeting. The survey aims to understand community priority related to a number of investment areas, as well as provides an opportunity for the survey respondent to be specific as to any initiative or program they would like for the town board and management to consider. The survey may be assessed via the town's website and will be promoted via the town's social media pages, has been promoted on numerous occasions via the town's social media pages. The survey is available to town residents to respond through this month, through the month of February. I'm recommending that the town board hold a public hearing this evening to receive input on the development of the upcoming budget. There is no action recommended after the public hearing. The purpose of this hearing, again, is to receive comment in advance of developing the fiscal year 2021-2022 recommended budget. I'm happy to answer any questions that the town board might have either before or after the public hearing.
Any comments? Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Mayor.
The hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to provide input into the town board's pertaining to the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget? Scott, do you have any?
No, sir. I see no hands are raised.
Okay. Thank you. The hearing is now closed. There is no action requested from the town board regarding this public hearing. This was for the public input process only. Okay, we move on to 8, the consent agenda. What is the board's pleasure on the items on the consent agenda?
Mayor, make a motion to approve all items on there, but I do want to make one comment on one item on here. So as I make that motion, talking about the police public safety cadet donations, that reminded me back in Movember, which is November, about all the different men that had long beards and stuff like that. And then part of it was to raise money. And here's a great thing that did raise money for the police safety cadets right there. If I could grow a beard, I would be right there with them. But that being the case, make a motion to support consent agenda items, all A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H.
All of the items, 100% of them. Yeah.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
Just for the record, because there is a delay.
Yeah.
Was it your understanding, Mayor, that Commissioner Wunsch's vote was in
He's
favor?
in favor of it, yes, sir. Yeah, I moved a little quick. All right, we're gonna move on to nine. Nothing was left on nine. Okay, we move to 10A, contract award public amendment and project ordinance. James A. Campbell Park Restroom, $192,445, BA 2117. More information about this agenda item be presented by Town Manager Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider award of the James A. Campbell Park Restroom Project to Stewart Group Enterprises, LLC, and approval of a budget amendment, BA 2117, and a project ordinance. As you know, James A. Campbell Park is located at 115 West Jones Street and currently includes a picnic shelter, playground, and paved parking. The 2014 Comprehensive System-Wide Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources Master Plan identified the addition of a restroom facility at James A. Campbell Park, and funding of $85,000 was included in the fiscal year 20 budget to build an on-site restroom to replace the portable toilet that currently serves the park today. The town solicited bids for the James A. Campbell Park Restroom project in February of last year and received 2 bids for the project. The lowest bid was $211,266. The original request for proposals also anticipated the use of federal funds and thus the need for federal reporting requirements, which appeared to be a factor adversely impacting bids based on feedback from prospective bidders. The town received or rebid the bathroom project without federal requirements and added the identical restroom for Willow Lakes Park in hopes that the two would leverage better competitive pricing and entice more contractors to bid. On May 15th of last year, the town opened bids for the restroom at both parks and had a total of 6 bidders. On June 16th, I shared an update on the bids for that package of 2 small public restrooms. The total low bid price for 2 restroom buildings was $320,000, which would have required appropriation of about $256,000 in recreation unit fees that were not accounted for in the fiscal year 2020 budget. And so for that reason, I was not in position to recommend the award of a restroom bid, and I planned to revisit those assumptions and potential capacity for discussion and reprioritization in the 5-year plan to accommodate additional permanent public restrooms. The town formally rebid the James A. Campbell Park Restroom project as a single restroom utilizing the modified footprint and opened bids on Wednesday, October 10th of last year. The low bidder, unfortunately, was disqualified as they did not provide a bid bond, which meant the lowest responsive bid was $228,615. The town rejected all bids as this amount was well over budget and significantly higher than management felt reasonable for the scope of the project. Since October of last year, we have requested informal bids from past bidders on this project, contractors that have previously completed similar town projects, and contractors that have expressed interest in doing work for the town, including historically underutilized businesses. In doing so, Town staff have consistently expressed interest in completing this project if it can be completed for a reasonable price and within proximity to a reasonable budget. During this informal bid process, we received informal bids from U.S. Structures, J. Kester, and Stewart Enterprises, LLC, with Stewart Enterprises, LLC submitting the lowest bid of $183,281 for this project. The town has previously worked with Stewart Enterprises, LLC on the splash pad restroom and kiosk project and the council gymnasium restroom renovation, and we believe that Stewart Group Enterprises is a reputable general contractor. I am recommending awarding the James A. Campbell Park restroom project to Stewart Group Enterprises, LLC, and appropriating the necessary rec unit fees to fund the project. A budget amendment is also in front of you for your consideration in the amount of $192,445, which is needed to award the project. We have identified a surplus of revenue and rec unit fees in our current fiscal year eligible to be used for this recreational improvement, and I'm recommending appropriating this overage to support the cost of construction of the restroom at James A. Campbell Park. The reason why the budget amendment is higher than the contract is it does build in some additional funds for contingency. The motion recommended to the town board this evening is to approve budget amendment BA 2117 and a project ordinance for the construction of the James A. Campbell Park restroom in the amount of $192,445 as presented and recommended, and to authorize me as your town manager to execute a contract with Stewart Group Enterprises, LLC in the amount of $183,281, subject to town attorney review as to form. I'm happy to answer any questions that the town board may have.
I'm going to call on Commissioner Harris to make the motion on this. He stayed on this one pretty good while. You know, we tried to do this several years ago, and it did not work out. But Commissioner Harris has kept this in the forefront, and it's very much needed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I so move that we approve the budget amendment BA 2117 and a project ordinance for the construction of James A. Campbell Park restroom in the amount of $192,445, as presented and recommended, and that we authorize the town manager to execute a contract with Stewart Group Enterprises, LLC in the amount of $183,281, subject to town attorney approval and review.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of this good motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we move on to, oops, I'm trying to get there too soon, I reckon.
Thank you, thank you.
Fuquay-Varina strategic plan. More information about this agenda item will be presented by Town Manager Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider adoption of the Town of Fuquay-Varina strategic plan. At the 2020 Town Board Strategic Planning Retreat, the Town Board identified several trends expected to have a high impact on Fuquay-Varina in the next generation and set town management on a path to develop a formal strategic plan. As the town faces current and new challenges and opportunities, strategic planning provides a framework for the town to envision achievable goals informed by data and history, enact plans and allocate resources to achieve these goals, and evaluate progress towards meeting these goals. The town board identified a vision statement, mission statement, and 6 core values during the fall of last year, and identified objectives and initiatives to advance each core value during our 2021 Town Board Strategic Planning Retreat. The strategic plan has 5 components. The vision statement captures what we aspire to be. The mission statement describes what the town will do to realize this vision. 6 core values are identified to inform and advance the mission statement. Several specific objectives, each with multiple initiatives, are identified for each core value. Objectives and initiatives are goal statements that are focused on advancing the town's mission around each core value. While some objectives and initiatives are ongoing or multi-year in nature, others will be revised and updated each year as prior objectives and initiatives are accomplished. Management and staff will measure success by establishing performance targets associated with each initiative while continually striving to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of town services in advancing the objectives and initiatives of this strategic plan. To support the implementation of the town strategic plan, each town department has also developed a departmental strategic plan. Departmental strategic plans are aligned with the organization-wide town strategic plan and identify specific intentional efforts the department will take to support the town strategic plan by promoting operational advancement and excellence in a changing context. While many contextual influences may fall outside a department's span of control, departments have developed goals focused on advancing the town and department mission within the expected context. Management recommends that our community be our partners in advancing this strategic plan by reviewing this document and contributing to the efforts necessary to achieve our shared goals. The town is committed to transparency and will report on our successes and shortcomings on an annual basis on the town's website. Town management and staff want to specifically thank and commend our town board and the mayor for establishing a clear vision in developing this plan. And the many town employees also are to be commended that have thoughtfully and tirelessly worked to develop the town and department strategic plans. Through all of our efforts that are focused, management and staff will work to accomplish the goals of the strategic plan to make Fuquay-Varina a better place to live, work, and play. The funding for objectives and initiatives will be incorporated within the plan as a part of the fiscal year 22 through 26 budget and 5-year plan. The motion that's recommended to you this to you this evening is to adopt the Town of Fuquay-Varina 21 through 25 strategic plan as presented and recommended. And for the benefit of the town board and any public that might be listening this evening, I want to quickly just mention a few items as they relate to the strategic plan.
Please do, Adam.
And I'll take any questions that the town board may have. Assuming this plan is adopted this evening, it will be posted online within this week so that the public can begin to review it in its entirety. Just as a reminder, the Fuquay-Varina strategic plan vision statement is that Fuquay-Varina is a dynamic, inclusive, and caring community that provides exceptional service while offering economic opportunity, sense of place, and an unmatched quality of life. The mission statement is that the town of Fuquay-Varina will improve quality of life by developing and maintaining robust infrastructure, committing to environmental and fiscal sustainability, fostering economic and cultural opportunities, providing safety and security, and delivering exceptional municipal services, all while continuing to be a dash more. The core values as identified by this board are effective government and governance, fiscal strength, safety and security, economic vitality, preserving character and identity, and quality of life. Now, I'm not going to review each of the initiatives under each of the core values, but I am going to briefly just mention the objectives under each of the core values. For the core value of effective government and governance, the first objective is to provide exceptional customer service while enhancing citizen engagement. The second objective is advance operational efficiency and effectiveness by improving internal business processes and integrating technology solutions. The third objective under effective government and governance is to recruit, retain, and develop skilled, knowledgeable, motivated, and public service-oriented town staff. The core value of fiscal strength. The first objective is to maintain and improve the town's bond rating. The second objective under fiscal strength is leverage grant opportunities and partnerships to increase return on investment. And the third objective under fiscal strength is ensure fiscal sustainability and resilience through effective long-term financial planning. For the core value of safety and security, objective number one is to cultivate a safe and inclusive community. Objective 2 under safety and security is apply innovation and technology to enhance public safety. And objective number 3 under safety and security is to invest in public safety facilities and infrastructure. For the core value of economic vitality, objective number 1 is to maintain a growing economy by providing the necessary infrastructure to support short, medium, and long-term growth. Objective number 2 is provide supportive land use planning and development regulations. And the third objective under economic vitality is promote Fuquay-Varina as a destination for investment to support diverse growth and sustainability. The core value of preserving character and identity. The first objective is prioritize community design and character through effective land use planning policies. The second objective for preserving character and identity is encourage the development community to integrate natural landscape, site, and character conditions into new development. And finally, the third objective under preserving character and identity is partner with local, regional, and state organizations to promote community heritage and preservation. And finally, the core value of quality of life. Objective number 1 is to offer diverse and inclusive recreational and cultural programming. Objective number 2 is to develop recreational facilities that are in geographic proximity to all residents. And the third objective under quality of life is develop a creative and artistic identity for downtown and the town as a whole. These are the objectives for all of the core values. Under each of these objectives, this board has identified in our strategic planning retreat initiatives that we will set out to achieve either within the next year or certainly over the 5-year horizon that this strategic plan is designed for. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may or the town board may have.
I like it very much. I think we've been able to get into it, everybody's participation, and it's well-rounded, which I like. And everybody had a piece of the puzzle, to put in this, and which is very important. Any other comments anybody would make?
Mr. Mayor, barring any other comments, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the Town of Fuquay-Varina 2021-2025 strategic plan as presented and recommended.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion is unanimous. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. Appreciate it.
Okay, we go to 11A, Manager's Report.
Thank you. I don't have aside from the items that were included in your agenda materials, I don't have a great deal of additional information to present to the town board tonight. I do want to just mention a few things briefly, however. On January 6th, this day was the single largest day for recycling collection in the town's history. We collected 60 tons from the Blue Route, breaking the previous record from last year by 3 tons. And so
that's 5%, right?
That's about right. And that's not to be unexpected during the pandemic. I think a lot of people did I know in my family, we did around the holiday season, did a lot of online shopping. Didn't get out into the stores and whatnot. And so a lot of cardboard boxes were on doorsteps. And so I don't think it's a surprising number, but it is a demonstration that our community is continuing to take recycling and the environment seriously and is participating in our recycling program here.
Adam, tell us where that is going. The recycling goes a longer distance, doesn't it?
Yeah, the recycling goes to the recycling transfer station up in Raleigh. We have a contract with a recycling provider, and it is a multi-stream recycling center. And so as long as our citizens are putting the allowable recyclable materials in the stream, it will separate those items out by glass, by cardboard, et cetera. And so, yeah, we do take our recycling not to the landfill, which is closer by in Holly Springs. We go to North Raleigh to take our recycling.
You know, one of the things that I think is important is much opportunity as we can to educate people about what goes in the recycling. Now, our recycling is no different than it is in any other community in Wake County. Is that a correct statement?
That's right. I mean, they all are taking their recycle. Those that have programs, which most, if not all, do, are taking their recycling
to the same site that we take.
Well, there's two providers in Wake County, one of the two providers, but they operate almost identically in terms of what they accept and how they divide it out once it's received there. So it's not uncommon to find similar or same standards in the other communities here in Wake County.
Sure.
Yeah, and we do continue to try to remind the public about that. We certainly have that information on our website, but Susan does a good job of periodically putting that information out on our social media pages. Occasionally we will send information out in our newsletter that goes out with our water bills. I mentioned it at the town board meeting for anybody who was listening in at our last town board meeting, I believe, or the one before that. You know, the biggest culprit is you know, containers that may have a grease or a product in it that either hasn't been washed out or we just don't take. For example, we can't take cardboard that's had food grease on it, like pizza. That goes into the trash. That's not a recyclable product. And pizza boxes are oftentimes our biggest culprit. You know, the citizens want to do a good job of recycling, and they say, oh, this is cardboard, it should be recycled, and that is the natural inclination, but because it's had pizza grease on it, it's got to go in the trash.
And the culprit is the grease.
That's right.
The food that's engraved, you can't get it out of the material.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah. But we'll continue to put that information out.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Our finance department is staying busy. We have started the budget process. We talked about that this evening, and our department directors are beginning to submit their information for management to review and consider. It'll ultimately trickle its way up to the town board for consideration. At our next meeting, I'm going to actually be proposing a couple of dates for the town board to consider for a budget workshop. We're aiming for the April timeframe for a budget workshop, but we need to go ahead and get it on the schedule so that you can be planning for it and so that our staff knows that there is a deadline for them to meet as well. So we'll be doing that here shortly. And our Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources Department is doing their best to manage the impacts from all this rain that we've had, the weather impacts on the winter sports program and preparing for the spring sports season. We're hoping that things begin to improve and it doesn't impact or delay the spring sports season. Our final day of late registration was this past weekend, so we should have some numbers to report to the town board on how our registration ended up, and we know that we've had a great deal of interest in our program for this spring. We have had 81 new single-family permits issued so far for this month, so another strong month. We're not we're about halfway through, and we're at 81, and so our inspections department is staying quite busy. So our public utilities department is also staying busy. They recently lit construction for an upcoming water line replacement projects for bid, and bids are to be opened on March 4th, and projects will include replacing water lines on Clifton, Blanchard, Fawcett, and Raleigh streets, a new larger line on a portion of Academy and Main Street, in anticipation of downtown development, and on Mims Road to improve available fire flow to a couple of subdivisions out in that area. And so these projects will be opened on March 4th for consideration. And so that's in addition to what is identified on your town board agenda, all of the information I need to report to the town board this evening. I will just point to your agenda and say that there is a second quarter financial report in there. I have to say that each quarter, Joanne and her team in the finance department continue to put the polish on it. Our quarterly report looks very professional. It's well done. It's easier to read and understand. I don't really have anything negative to report on it for right now. We seem to be trending with our revenues and our expenditures either on plan or better than plan for the fiscal year. And so this is good. We'll continue to monitor it and pay attention to it. Obviously, this year we budgeted more conservatively, not knowing what the full and complete impacts of COVID-19, the pandemic, would have on us. And that was a wise decision on behalf of this board to do so, because we're not finding ourselves in a position of having to pick and choose and make decisions that we don't want to make related to
How much are
operations.
sales tax up? Can you give us a number on that?
I'll have to follow up with the board. I don't have the exact number with me. I know that, Mayor, we are doing better than what we had anticipated. Again, we budgeted very conservatively there. I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, we are seeing about 3 to 3.5% growth in sales tax compared to previous year, same time. And that's a reflection of growth over budget, I should say, and that's a reflection of conservative budgeting. And I think that's also a reflection of we haven't seen necessarily the impact that perhaps other areas of our state have seen either. I think this area, this region of our state has perhaps weathered the pandemic maybe a little bit better than other areas of our state. And so we've been...
But our sales tax is not figured on what takes place in Fuquay-Varina. It's a portion of what takes place in all of Wake County. Am I saying that right?
It is. It's a portion of that. That's right. And even online sales as well.
Last night at the Wake County Mayor's Association, they were talking about the sales tax being up considerably.
Yeah.
Which it kind of amazed me, and that's why I asked that question.
Yeah, we saw a decline in the, as we would expect, in sort of that April, May, June time frame, and then it started to pick up.
Yeah.
Just in time for the new budget.
Yeah. Okay.
You do have several first readings in your agenda materials. Before I get to that, I do want to just mention as well that Wake County is conducting COVID-19 testing here in Fuquay-Varina this week. They have a testing site at South Park, February 15th through the 21st. Monday and Sunday are 11 to 4 p.m., and Tuesday through Saturday are 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And so Wake County's attempt and effort to try to provide some convenience to the citizens of Fuquay-Varina by offering a site here. If you'll remember, the town board authorized us to enter into temporary leasing agreements with Wake County for testing and vaccination sites, assuming that they are able to proceed forward with that more globally around the county for both Fleming Loop Park and South Park. This testing site is in South Park.
We've been trying for a while,
Yeah.
and it's not that it's not our decision, but we were wanting to get testing sites here and vaccination sites here, very early on.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not necessarily our choice.
We've had
comes from the
some
Wake
testing
County
sites.
Health Department.
Yeah, at locations like the Southern Regional Center and other locations, but part of our goal was to try to have some testing sites on town facility and property as well, just to expand opportunities for our citizens here in Fuquay-Varina and in Southern Wake County. Point well taken, Mayor. The other thing I would just mention, and we hope that the public will tune in at 6:30 on March 1st, our next town board meeting. But before the town board meeting at 6:30, to hear the mayor deliver the State of the Town address, the annual State of the Town address, and for the mayor to also unveil our State of the Town video. It's a pretty exciting video. Susan and her team have done a wonderful job of working to put this together. She's, again, working with our partners at Amazing Studios, and we've had a number of town staff involved in the planning and process as well. And it's going to be pretty exciting because I think you'll see some familiar faces in the video as well, which is going to be pretty neat. Community faces. In addition, I did mention earlier that you have several first readings in your agenda materials. A zoning map amendment submitted by Wilburn Properties LLC for 210 and 0 Coley Farm Road, as well as 0 Longfellow Street. This is rezoning petition 2020-17. There's also a zoning map amendment petition submitted by Raleigh Home Group LLC at 1994 NC 42 Highway. This is a first reading for rezoning petition 2020-21. There is also a zoning map amendment and land use plan amendment submitted by Fuquay Warehouse and Storage LLC at 6109 South NC 55 Highway and 1206 NC 42 Highway. This is rezoning petition 2020-22. And finally, you have a first reading for town code amendment. This is submitted by the town planning staff and town management for the town of Fuquay-Varina for land development ordinance amendment number 13. This is CTA 2020-07. I will just note, and we'll be providing this information to you via email so you'll have it in advance. The recommendation, which aligns with your first reading in your agenda materials, there was a slight modification at last night's planning board meeting that management and staff concurred with, and there's a slight variation in the proposed language to the LDO amendment, and we'll make sure that each board member receives that, so you'll have a chance to look at that prior to the March 1st town board meeting. So be looking for that information this week. And with that, Mayor, that's all I have to report on this evening.
Thank you, Adam. Mayor Pro Tem Massengill, any comments, words of wisdom for us?
Mayor, no further business tonight.
Commissioner Smith.
Mr. Mayor, I have no comments this evening.
Commissioner Harris.
No comments, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Commissioner Wunsch.
No comments, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Okay. Commissioner Gardner's not here, and you know, I would just make the comment. The state of the town will be most interesting because we've had a lot of things happen this past year, and it's kind of an exciting time to see all of those things kind of come together in one presentation. One of them that I thought about as I walked up the street tonight, were the kiosks that are around town, and they're starting to be utilized more and more in our community. And, even the bathroom at the Campbell Park, I try to walk as much as I can around town, and I'm sure that I'll use the bathroom there at Campbell Park. So a lot of things that we're doing now are things that we'll talk about at the State of the Town, which really gives a vision of what Fuquay-Varina has kind of rotated to or done this past year. And I'm always excited about the video. I think that's a big piece of it. I have no further business. Mr. Town Manager, you have any, we don't have a closed session or anything?
No closed session this evening.
Okay. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, so moved.
Second.
Got a motion in a couple seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, okay.